Week 4 is in the books. We've reached the halfway point of the season. There's a couple teams that need a win bad. How did this week stack up? Let's talk about it on the other end. Let's get this thing going.
And that's the bottom line.
You want a war? You're going to get one.
The cream rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Better put yourself up there, Ed. You thought you had it all together. Yeah, you always like to be on that side of the screen. I get it.
I got to be on that side of the screen. It's kind of how it rolls there. So after week 4, man, we have no more unbeatens.
No, it is just when you thought there could be some separation, DC playing winless San Antonio. Arlington and St. Louis were going to take care of some separation there. You know, San Antonio jumps up and beats DC, and here we are. So,
and I'm not going to say I predicted it, but I predicted it. So, you know,
oh, geez,
I got to get a little accolades where I can get them.
Squirrel's gonna find
this
a
tough UFL season. Hey, Reg, thoughts and prayers go out to you, man. Sorry to hear about your mom, but she's in a better place, so keep the chin up.
Thanks for stopping on. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. You know, you look at these games going forward. I mean, there's going to be Memphis. I believe Memphis is not going to go winless. You know, Houston played another tough game. I know they didn't win, but Houston played another tough game against Birmingham. So you got to believe there's a win or two there against an unexpected. It's tough predicting these games. It just is. But we do it every week.
We do it every week without fail, and we've got a lot to cover, so we're going to get it started. Let's start off with the Memphis at Michigan highlights, and we'll talk about it on the other end, courtesy of the UFL.
Good, man, good. Go ahead and break. Let's go to work. Come on, let's go to work.
An offensive coordinator on 2nd and goal. Play clock gets down to 0 as the handoff up the middle. Prince chugging toward the goal line. He's in for a Showboats touchdown.
And he's got the one on top.
Off and an opening again. shedding tackles into the end zone for a Michigan touchdown. From the 19 of Memphis. Big hole again. A little stiff arm. Hopping into the end zone. McCurry with a touchdown. Perry throws. Nice adjustment, but that pass, is it intercepted? Did it ever hit the ground? It ended up in the hands of Arnold Tarpley. He's saying it's an interception, and defensive backs will never lie. The officials are...
And even running through that contact.
Perkins jumps this pass down the sideline. He's got more, makes a move, and into the end zone for a Michigan touchdown.
You know, that game, watching that game Friday, it looked like Memphis had all the momentum. I thought, okay, you know, this could be a game Memphis comes out and gets. You know, defensively, they've been playing, you know, what we thought, talking with Coach Horton, that defense was going to be pretty solid. You know, he really liked the secondary. But then Bryce Perkins in Michigan said, not so fast. And they virtually just put him away. I mean, just put him away.
And that's kind of the, you know, there's been a couple close games now between Michigan and Memphis that Michigan's been able to pull away in the fourth quarter. Coach Turner caught a little heat this last week because even when Memphis went down 18 in the fourth quarter, you know, with the way the UFL is with the 3-point conversions and stuff, it was still a 2-point game. And so he caught a little heat about the fact that he didn't pull out all the stops in the fourth quarter. And courtesy of the UFL, this is what he had to say in his presser.
You're asking questions about at the end of the game, same thing I just said to the team. We're down by 18 points. Our defense has been working, but it's been a long drive. It's been a long night. So you could say, well, should I be going for 2 minutes and going for the win or trying to come back in the game? It's a 2-score game if we get both touchdowns and then the 3-point conversions, which is a long shot. So I told the team, I said, listen, I'm never going to concede victory, but I am thinking about the season, and I'm looking at how beat up we are, a defensive front right there. I'm like, I'm not going to do that to them. I'm not going to have us go 3 and out. We don't have any rhythm throwing the football right now. I'm not going to have us go 3 and out and put our defense back on the field. I'm not doing that right now. And possibly put somebody in position of being for another injury and so on. So that's why I did that, and I stand by that.
So Eric, what's your thoughts on his decision in the fourth quarter?
You know, I've had the opportunity to interview Coach Turner and listen to him, you know, answer questions and talk to the media. If that's what was on his mind, I mean, I can't argue with him. I mean, let's face it. How many of us believe that Memphis is all of a sudden going to catch lightning in a bottle and they're going to be a playoff team? I don't think the three of us believe that.
No.
And what he was talking about with the defense, I mean, they spent so much time on the field. I mean, you credit Michigan's offense because, you know, they were able to put the ball across. But, I mean, when you look at the entirety of the game, they spent a ton of time on the field. So, like he said, 18 points, is it a long shot? Absolutely it is. So, I guess if that's the way he was weighing it, I can't argue with him. I mean, you know, now some people would say, Bull, you got to be going after it. You got to be doing this. You got to be doing that. I mean, I guess there's always next week because like he said, the 18 points was a long shot, especially against Michigan's defense. So, you know, if that was his philosophy, if that was his thinking at that time, I can't argue with it. I just can't.
So if you look at this game, Brett, Michigan's played Memphis twice now. Michigan was pretty nip and tuck with Memphis both games, and it was only in the fourth quarter of both of them that they were able to pull away and get the win. But looking at who's Michigan's played so far this year, are you buying Michigan, Brad? Do you think they got what it takes?
I think they've got the roster. I do feel like, and I've watched every play of every game this year, either live or replay. And I feel like Michigan is getting better. We're headed to week 5. I know they really, to me, laid an egg against Birmingham, but still had a shot at the very end. And if anything, they caused themselves as much to lose that game as Birmingham, beat them. I feel like Michigan's definitely trending in the right direction. It's going to be a very entertaining game in St. Louis this weekend to kind of get a little bit better feel, like you said, out of 4 games. They played Memphis twice, Birmingham once. So I'm ready to see them on the field with another team for sure. But they seem to be kind of getting it together with the pass game, and they're always going to have a solid run game and defense. So they're a team to watch out for.
They talk about, it's kind of been, we'll talk more about St. Louis when we get to that game. But the first couple weeks of the season, a lot of St. Louis's success come in the running game. But ultimately, when you go up against a team that's able to shut down the run, like Memphis was able to do there against Michigan, well, then you force the offense to they got to stretch the field. They got to make the defense play honest. And Coach Nolan commented a little bit about that with the game with Memphis. So courtesy of the UFL, this was his comments about Michigan's offense.
Mike Mueller, BCP Plus. You guys leaned really heavily on the run in the first half, and then it seemed like you kind of switched over to the passing game. And while that did get going in the fourth quarter, it seemed like you were struggling a bit in the third. I was just wondering, why did you make the change and start throwing the ball more when you were having so much success running early on?
I thought in order to win the football game, I had said something to Marcel about, we need to start to lean just a little bit more on the pass at a certain time. And he took a couple shots down the field. Some of them were just overthrows, but I think we get something out of those plays regardless, just from the standpoint of letting the opponent know that you're going to go down the field. Causes the coordinator to call different calls and have to keep up with what you're doing play call wise. So that was one of the reasons. Then when you had a little success with, all of a sudden it shows up. The incompletes, it's like it never happens sometimes to a fan, but to the opponent it does. And so I think we had a good mix. I did. I'm always, it's always, I think we have a running personality a little bit, I guess you could say, for our league. But at the same time, we understand that if we don't throw the ball and throw it down the field, it's going to be hard for us to win consistently going forward. So it's something that we continue to work on.
He's absolutely right. Whether you complete those deep balls or not, that puts it in the mind of Coach Horton on the other side, saying, listen, we can't forget about that. We can't forget that they will take a shot down the field. So, again, as a fan, you're like, oh, incomplete, next play. But a defensive coordinator saying, listen, we can't – he puts that in his memory bank knowing that that's a possibility. So, and I've always said that about run-heavy teams. If you don't give the illusion of a pass, if you don't give the illusion of stretching the field or whatever it might be, that defense just keeps coming and coming and coming. So, Coach Nolan hit on the head. You still have to give that illusion. Even if you're successful in the run game, you still have to give that illusion that, we can stretch the field. And I think, Brett said it. Perkins had himself a day through the air and on the ground. If he catches his stride, Michigan's going to be a handful if Perkins can maintain that type of play. So
what was the fourth game? I know Michigan played Memphis twice. They've played Birmingham once. What was the other game? Was it San Antonio, wasn't it?
I believe it was
San Antonio. Yeah.
And Michigan got to play San Antonio when San Antonio, wasn't playing their best football. Like they seem to kind of starting to be putting things together again. So Michigan, although they're 3-1, are they really at this point one of the favorites? That's hard to say, but you could probably say that about just about any team in the league so far.
Their 3 wins are against teams that have a combined record of 1-7. Now, if you're going to use the and rightfully so, if you're going to say, well, St. Louis played Houston and they played San Antonio and then they've lost the last 2 games, fair enough. But it also has to apply to Michigan in terms of your wins are against 1-7. And your loss is against Birmingham. So, I think it's going to all come down and I agree with that statement there. Michigan has had a favorable schedule and yes, we all wish Memphis was better. I guess, with the flag hanging back here, I've always had a connection to Memphis with Coach DeFilippo last year and I, Coach Wisenhunt and now Coach Turner. I really do like, Coach Turner's attitude. I do like how he approaches the game. I do like that gruff, almost Marine-like approach to things. But it just, for whatever reason in Memphis, and Brett, I think you would agree, I thought Memphis had a better roster this year. But, especially on the defensive side of the ball and getting E.J. Perry from Michigan. But realistically, Brett, it just hasn't translated into success. And I can't put my thumb on it.
Hasn't translated to W's for sure. They threw away the Houston game. I still feel, watching all the games from last season and comparing them to what we've seen so far this season, I feel like Memphis is a lot better than last season. I think their roster is better. I think they've got better coaches. I think 2 things has really hurt Memphis, and that's Wisenhunt coming and going with the health issues that we've heard, and quarterback play. I mean, we knew the kid that had been on many rosters was with San Antonio last year, was with the Guardians in 2022, was supposed to be the starter. He got cut before the season started. The rumor was he might have been the starter. I don't know. But those are the 2 things I really kind of circle is Wisenhunt and at the all-important quarterback position.
So, hey, Trey, thanks for joining us. You got perfect timing. We'll talk more about Michigan when we get into the previews of Week 5. But let's go ahead and, courtesy of the UFL, let's move on to our next game and look at the St. Louis-Arlington highlights.
Play clock winding down. Wilkins falls down with a snap. Ball popped out late. And this play is still alive. Chris Odom takes it back the other way. And a touchdown is the call from 39 yards out. And Wilkins remains on the turf near the 40-yard line. Blankenship, the former Georgia standout, a 56-yard field goal last week, and a 55-yard attempt on the way this week. And Blankenship bangs it home. Score for St. Louis. Pop pass to the edge. Payton. Oh, he got there. Devontae Payton, another touchdown. So Mike's got it there. 16-9, 2nd down and 7. Picked off. Intercepted by Willie Harvey. Here come the Battlehawks. Touchdown, St. Louis. Gain of 23. Day Hunter. The pivot through the pocket into the end zone. Oh, and he found a way across the goal line. This season, it all comes down to this. 4th and goal. Intercepted. And the Renegades survive. It's Harris bringing it back the other way. Ajay going to take it to the house. And the over somehow hits on the pick 6 from 100.
Was that not a game of big plays?
Well, it turned into a game of it's unfortunate for Manny Wilkins. I mean, I gotta believe it's an Achilles.
Oh, it is. It's confirmed.
Yeah. Okay. I want to make sure of that before I said for sure, but just setting the ball down and then him running it in. There's a free touchdown there. It's unfortunate.
There were some that said it should have been called dead, but really, you can't argue with the way that way they let it carry out.
No, because
realistically it was a fumble.
Yeah, I mean,
do you wish it could have been different? Yeah, but it's really not a call that you can argue with. So
no, and as a Battlehawk fan, I'm not going to argue with it. It is what it is. It's an unfortunate deal, and it kind of set the tone. It really kind of set the tone for the whole game. I mean, it seemed like every bounce, you saw that interception at the end there in the highlights. Every bounce was just right there. The last couple of games, it's kind of been that way for St. Louis. Deflections for touchdowns, deflections for interceptions. But I will point this to Ed or Brett. I know you may have some input on it too, but there's one thing I can't understand. So somebody enlighten me. Why are we rotating our linebacking core so much? When Mike Rose and Willie Harvey were in there, our defense just seems to play really well. O'Reilly gets in there, and the other name escapes me, number 33, I believe. I mean, it's not working. So why are we doing that? I think I may even have texted you, Ed, during the game. I'm like, why are we rotating our linebackers? All of a sudden they're going down the field. And when they scored that touchdown that you saw in the highlights where he bounced off guys and got in there at the goal line, they just put Mike Rose and Willie Harvey back in when they were down on the 3-yard line, but they allowed them to go all the way down the field. I'm not understanding. I mean, I get it. The UFL is about tape. It's about opportunity. It's about all those things. But we're still trying to win the game too, correct? Am I missing something, Ed?
Well, my take on it is then you gotta protect the football. And the last 2 weeks has just been just turnover after turnover after turnover after turnover, and you're just not going to win. And especially in the league this year, when you look at all the good defenses that are in the UFL, a lot of the times these games are coming down to 1-score games. And when you're having 3 turnovers, 4 turnovers in a game, that's just too much to overcome. Wouldn't you say, Brett?
Absolutely. And again, it's the guys, we go back to the preseason. We talked about in preseason when we were previewing each team this season, the big question mark, and I was high on St. Louis. I had them right there at the top of the XFL conference with Arlington right below them. But the big question mark, unfortunately, was at the quarterback position. I mean, they improved, in my opinion, both their lines. I know that St. Louis has had some struggles with Beecham being out. But you go up and down this roster, I mean, they've got some talent. Now Butler's back, but who's going to get Butler the ball? They just signed Brandon Silvers, a kid that played college here in Alabama. He played for the Seattle Dragons of XFL 2020. He played the Houston Roughnecks of XFL 2022 or 2023. Will he start taking some reps with Max Dugan? I mean, Max at times, you thought, but I can see he still doesn't seem like he knows the playbook 100%, and it's kind of like a roller coaster ride with him right now. That's the question mark for St. Louis is the quarterback position.
But would that be a mistake on the coaching staff's part that, if they weren't, Duggan had mop-up time, basically, up until this game.
Right.
And, Is that on the coaching staff that they're not giving him those reps in game? So when a situation like this happens, I mean, you look at every other team other than DC. I guess you could say San Antonio, because Kellen Mond has taken every snap, I think. Guys are getting reps. Guys are getting series here, a series there. I mean, and I guess as we talked about the quarterback position being a question mark, I mean, clearly they thought it wasn't, but now all of a sudden Manny's done. And I mean, we're left to pick the scraps up, or what are we talking about here?
Well,
that's my question.
Well, the Battlehawks started off the season on offense. I've always harped on third down efficiency, and they started the season off really well, which helped them maintain drives and possess the ball, that kind of thing. They're back to their old third down woes. So in the post-game presser, courtesy of the NFL or UFL, Coach Beck addressed not so much his defense. He was more concerned about his offense. This is what he had to say.
His name is Mike Reeves. He's wanting to ask, could I ask how frustrating it was for the defense to be unable to get off the field on the third down frequently?
I mean, they made a couple plays for us to get us the ball back, to put a drive together at the end of the game. I got to watch the film on the other stuff, but as a head coach, that's all I want. All right, they were able to get the ball back for our offense, and our offense had a chance. Big picture, yeah, we'd like to be better offensively on third down. I think we're 5 of 16 or something like that. I mean, that's kind of a puke fest, right? And then defensively, look, guys played hard. I mean, they went for it on fourth down on their own 30. I mean, for our defense to have to, that's, you better rise up, because that's basically trying to send a message that, you can't stop them. And they did. And I thought in those moments, like I said, they came up big when we needed it. The Willie play was huge. It's kind of a sporadic thing with our defense right now. And they kept us in this.
So, I mean, it really doesn't get down to much more than that. I mean, the offense has just not been consistent at all the last 2 weeks.
Well, as I look at the numbers, as I look here, time of possession, 32 minutes to 28 minutes in St. Louis's favor. We ran 62 plays to their 50. But, I mean, that third down just tells you that we're just not getting it done. And hats off to Arlington. I mean, defensively, we knew they were going to be good, but you take away, that gimme touchdown with Manny and whatever. That game could be entirely different. I mean, Arlington did not have a first down, I think, in the entire second quarter and partway into the third quarter. I mean, that's nuts to me. I know the score reflects the pick six right there at the end, but I mean, that's just nuts to me that you can lose a game and a team does not get a first down for well over 18 minutes. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, as you can imagine, it took Arlington's defense to make that happen. And in the post presser, this is what Coach Stoops had to say about his defense.
The team, we made the plays down the stretch to win the game. A week ago we missed on a couple of those. I thought overall we operated at the line of scrimmage quicker and better. Didn't have very many procedures, so we were, cleaner that way. But and then defensively, we're doing a great job. Covered great and got pressure. They ran the ball. I thought we controlled the run overall pretty well. And then, our defense has more touchdowns in the last two games than the two teams we played against us. So So anyhow, that's kind of how I saw it.
So one thing you can look at, is Arlington playing lights out on defense? They sure are. But to me, what's puzzling is, especially with having a quarterback like Luis Perez, their offense just doesn't seem to be clicking at all.
No.
And when you listen to Luis Perez, week in and week out, like we've been able to, attend in the pressers, he just seems to be more and more frustrated about the fact that their offense has been so inept. So, courtesy of the UFL, this is what Luis Perez had to say concerning their offense in the game against St. Louis.
Anthony Miller, Old Football Digest. Luis, for you, Coach Stoops kind of talked about how you guys were able to get across midfield, but then it kind of stall out after that. What do you guys need to do offensively to kind of clean that up and be able to, get closer to the end zone or get into the end zone for touchdowns?
Yeah, mental errors and penalties. I mean, if you just look back on our drives where we stalled, it was penalties, holding call. There was whatever the penalty was. It sets you back, and it's hard to overcome those penalties. So we got to look in the mirror, fix our stuff, fix what we can fix, and then fix the mental errors, right? There's no excuse for mental errors, right? Getting beat it's pro football, right? People are going to get beat, but the mental errors are unacceptable, and we got to look in the mirror and fix them.
So does that surprise you, Brett, Arlington has had their team together for the most part, just like a lot of the other teams in the league. I would think that Arlington would be a little bit better on offense at this stage of the game.
I think overall they're a lot better than last year. I think the offensive coordinator Chuck Long has been a little bit more creative with his play calling this season. I know they're number one in conversion rate in the league, whether it be 1 or 2 point conversions after a touchdown. But I definitely don't think it's panic mode for Arlington. Every defense seems to be ahead right now. The offense has finally kind of broke out this past week. I think, again, maybe an extra week of practice next season going into year 3, along with maybe a full scrimmage game, would really help the offenses kind of get their feet under them sooner than what they have this season. But, again, look at the two defenses they just played. They played Birmingham, and then played St. Louis. Those are two of the toughest defenses. So, honestly, I like what I see out of Arlington. I knew they were going to be really improved on the defensive side of the ball, but I will agree with Luis. It's a combination of mental errors, bad timing on penalties, and a couple picks that he's thrown in key situations that have come back to cause them issues. But there again, guys, they're this close to being 4-0 right now. So
and the way they moved the ball against Birmingham in that game, in that loss to Birmingham, they moved the ball phenomenal in between the 20s.
Yeah.
So you're right; they're this close to being 4-0.
Yeah.
With what they consider to be offensive woes.
Right.
I would take that. But
yeah, absolutely.
I think Arlington has put themselves in a position now where it kind of feels like at this point, I know we're not even halfway through the season, but it kind of feels like to me that on the XFL side of things, they've put themselves in the driver's seat. Would that be accurate, Brett?
They've had a lot of home games to start the season. I want to say this is week 5. Is this going to be their 4th home game already? I know they went to Birmingham. They played Houston at home. They played San Antonio at home. They played St. Louis at home, and now they've got DC at home. So 4 out of their first 5 are home games, and I really feel like they need to get out of this weekend's matchup with the Defenders with a 4-1 record. But I'm going to tell you what, man, they look good to me. Yes, they could and probably should have some more points on the board. They've got to do a little better in the red zone, and like Luis said, they've had some key penalties. But I'm going to tell you, they're this close to being – they're going to be a team that nobody's going to want to go through, in my opinion, come playoff time.
I would concur with that. What do you think, Ed?
I think it's a big game. It's going to be interesting to see how DC bounces back from their loss last week to San Antonio. I do agree. I think that this is an important game for Arlington. I think to to tag them with a second loss in consecutive weeks would be huge for Arlington. To have DC go down 2 weeks in a row. But we'll talk more about that matchup later. So let's move on. And let's, courtesy of the UFL, let's take in the Birmingham-Houston highlights, and we'll talk about it on the other end.
2-yard pass play to Jalen Camp. To see if they can convert the first down. They do. They get it out. And it is caught. Davion Davis all the way in for the touchdown.
He's going to need a spark here early.
Loss of 3 on that pass to Hall. Henderson keeps it, takes a big hit along the way, but holds on to the football. Chappelle Russell, and Henderson still down.
Tell you,
we mentioned he's making him in the low red area. On 3rd and 2. White takes it into the end zone for the touchdown. Ready, set. Corral up top. Got a man open. Dion Kane. Touchdown, Birmingham. Just right there. 46-yard gain to the 11. McClendon keeps it. Gets around the corner. Did he get in? From the Birmingham 44. Two-man rush. And it's picked up. JoJo Tillery. And that'll do it.
So I had the opportunity to talk to Coach Holtz last Friday before the day before the game, and talk to him about, how important of a win it would be for them to take out Houston and create that separation within the division. He seemed to be a little bit more concerned about the current shape that his team was in. He said, we played a lot of night games this first half of the season. And he said, it's 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning the next day when we get back from these games. And he said, so everybody's sleeping till 1 or 2 in the afternoon the next day. So for all intents and purposes, you've lost a day. And then, then we come back and we had to play a couple Fridays. So he said, he was really more concerned with his team just being tired. And so I don't know, Brett, did you see any signs of that this game?
This has been pretty much the same old Birmingham that we've seen this season, which is just flashes and then inconsistency. And again, another quarterback goes down. Good thing we did sign Case Cookis, because he will be starting Friday night at Protective Stadium against Memphis, his team from last season. Birmingham jumped out 11-0. Henderson got hurt, and McClendon just came in and kind of carved Birmingham up at times. I was quite disappointed with some of the coverages we ran in the secondary. I felt we played a little too soft, and McClendon did a job that he's probably going to be their man moving forward. He played a heck of a game against a very good pass rush, and we just really couldn't get to him. But again, Birmingham's now on their third string quarterback, still having offensive line issues. Our center was out last week along with our starting left tackle. Might be the case again Friday night. Still just are not – we're really, really struggling to run the ball. And, I know Skip has thrown it more this year than what he's done the previous 3 seasons. And, a lot of it is, he's pretty much pretty much count on out of 3 or 4 possessions, Skip's going to run it up the middle on first down the majority of the time. Well, you know, at times this season, he's just abandoned it altogether and just slung it around from the very get-go. We just seems like we've solidified the pass protection, but we're just not opening holes up and giving our running backs, you know, and it's taking away our play action. You know, everyone knows what we're fixing to do because we can't run the ball. So, but again, Birmingham's 3-1. I still feel like they've got the talent to win it all, but they are going to have to, same as Arlington, they're going to have to clean up their penalties. I think someone said, maybe Luke from State of Stallion said Birmingham was third in penalties, and I told him, hell, I can't believe Birmingham wasn't first. We can't be all first by much because Birmingham's had a lot of silly, needless, you know, misconduct penalties this season, just stuff that's not typical of a Skip Holt Stallions team.
Don't you think, Brett, as I've watched every Birmingham game, and there are 3-1, and you are correct when it comes to the penalty part of it. Penalties that just are very uncharacteristic, very undisciplined.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to get a false start. It's one thing to get a holding, but some of these penalties are just, they're undisciplined penalties.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's not characteristic of a Holt's team, but they are 3-1. But I get this feeling, and I could be wrong, that this is the weakest 3-1 team in the league. Why do I get that feeling? I mean, wow. They are just getting it feels like every game they do just enough and they come out on top on the scoreboard. But nothing, like you said, they have flashes, but then for long periods of time in the game, I mean, Houston got back into that game and I thought, oh no, like this McLennan has gave him a shot in the arm.
Yeah.
You know, watch out.
Well,
I have felt that way in every single Birmingham game that I've watched. That it's like, here we go.
Well, Coach Holtz commented on that, and in the presser, and at the end of the day, he just comes right out and says, at the end of the day, they got the win, and that's what the most important thing is. This is what he had to say, courtesy of the UFL.
Offensively, I felt really good at the first half. I felt like we're moving the ball a little bit. We were making the routine play, and that's the thing that we have not done this year. The second half became a total cluster between reads, throws, turnovers, missed blocks, just executing. Like I always say, pick the ball up, throw it to first base. We don't need the miraculous play. We just need to eliminate the bad play and make the routine play. I thought today we showed flashes of what we can be, and I think we've showed flashes of who we are, which is not quite the football team we all want to be, but just yet.
That pretty much summed it up.
Yeah, and listen, I agree with him. I don't care what level you're playing at. I don't care, what team we're talking about. A W is a W, and they are 3-1. You are what your record says you are, Bill Parcells. But that championship feel like we had all year last year, like, oh boy, man, it's going to take a Herculean effort to beat Birmingham. I don't feel that.
I thought you really got Brett's goat there for a minute. I thought Brett was going to come unglued on you.
They're picking up the dog, so he goes 8 crap. So, but yeah, I just don't. I don't feel like it's going to take that Herculean effort to beat Birmingham like I felt last year, and I did. I felt that last year all year long. I'm like, wow, Birmingham's playing. It's going to take a monumental deal. But this year, I don't feel that. Brett, is that kind of where you're? I'm not saying they can't win. I'm just saying it doesn't feel the same.
No, I agree with you. And following Birmingham from, the restart. So this is season 4 for us. I always felt like in those previous 3 seasons that if we didn't blow it, we would win. And I know it's very cocky, and I remember the effort in San Antonio and how they really kind of grown manned us and manhandled us last year. I remember telling, Marty, we watched the game and I told him then, I said, I think this is probably the best thing that happened to Birmingham. After that, Birmingham just went on a tear. But I think this is good for the league because honestly, I don't think Birmingham is necessarily a lot worse than what they've been the previous 3 years, but I do think a lot of other teams have caught up. I do think what we predicted last season that we were kind of wrong about, I think we're kind of on the money this year. I think there's a lot more parity. I think a lot of the teams are closer. I even though Memphis and Houston, people might say and think this, I still think they're better than what they were last year.
I can agree with that.
And I do feel like and watch out for San Antonio. They could go on a tear here. They've got the potential to make me, eat my words. But I feel like right now you've got 5 solid, strong contenders that could win it all, and that's Michigan and Birmingham out of the USFL conference, and DC and Arlington out of the XFL conference with a big asterisk around St. Louis. That's their quarterback play. If Silvers can come in and do his thing, or maybe Max Dugan can go back to his TCU days, then I've got St. Louis in there. Watch out for San Antonio. That San Antonio Houston game this weekend, I think it's going to be a hell of a game, especially if McClendon plays like he did against Birmingham last week. So I just feel like all the teams, I still feel like, yes, Birmingham can win it. I'm not saying they will or that I feel like they will, because now they've got more company this season than what they've had the previous 3 seasons. But there's some contenders there, so it's going to make for a very interesting end of the season and playoff situation.
So you look at Houston. Houston had a huge opportunity to right the season, get back to 500. Coach C.J. Johnson just summed it up in the presser, and courtesy of the UFL, we'll hear from him. He just doesn't know. He just says we don't have a running game. This is what he had to say.
Disappointing loss today. I thought we started slow. You can't start slow against a team like that. That's the champion, the king of the spring, real good football team, coach well. And I thought we picked it up. Obviously, Nolan Henderson got hurt. Jayden came in, man. He did a great job. I thought he did. I mean, he moved the ball club. It looked right. It looked like it should look. It wasn't any drop off. Just unfortunate, he couldn't get the win, but I thought he played well. Defense can't give up big plays. That's one thing we hadn't done all year, and we did it this game. But offensively, we have to run the football better for any quarterback to be effective.
And they've just not been able to do that. But
that's Houston's missing piece.
I mean, you look at the fact that the difference between 2-2 and 1-3 is just. I mean,
it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So I get it, but
and remember, Houston gave DC every bit they wanted in DC. Houston gave Arlington every bit they wanted in Arlington. And look at what they, did with Birmingham last week. Like I said, the records might not reflect it, but I feel like Houston's a good bit better this season than what they were last season.
The important part about that is, yes, Memphis may be 0-4. Yes, Houston may be 1-3. But it's not just a show-up game anymore, in my opinion.
Right.
You can't just show up and beat Houston.
Right.
You can't just show up and beat Memphis. And I think that's what makes this league intriguing. And having Birmingham come back to the pack, or the pack catch up to Birmingham, however you want to slice it.
Right.
I think that's what makes the UFL. If you would put $1,000 on the table right now, Brett, who wins the championship? I mean,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That's the thing that I love about the UFL is if I gave you $1,000, how do you lean? Oh man, it'd be a crapshoot of a century right now. Because you know, Memphis is going to beat somebody.
Yeah.
And Houston is not going to go. I would put $1,000. They're not going to go 1-9. So
yeah, and who knows what San Antonio's fixing to do?
Yeah, so those teams are going to beat somebody. It just depends on who it is. It's like I said early on. I'm glad St. Louis got Houston out of the way because they're going to jump up and beat somebody.
Yeah,
whether it be a Michigan, a Birmingham, whoever. They're going to beat somebody.
Yeah,
I know Homer Mike doesn't agree with that.
Not
but they're
Michigan.
going to beat somebody.
Well, as disappointed as CJ was in his running game, he was pretty excited about the quarterback play. This is what he had to say in his post presser, courtesy of the UFL.
You know what? Those quarterbacks, all three of them, do a phenomenal job during the week. Understand the quarterback play. The one quarterback, he gets all the reps. The others really don't get very many reps. But one thing that you do is you look at their notebooks. Each of those guys, they take notes. I mean, it's incredible how many notes they take and how detailed they are and how much they study and how much great suggestions and ideas they have. So I think they do a good job. I think EP does a great job coaching them. I think we have three good quarterbacks, great attitudes.
And I agree. The second that what Coach said, so my time in Philadelphia, even me as just a video coordinator or a video assistant there, I would go and watch I would sit in the meetings and, and every player would just have notebooks open, and they're all just everything because the opportunity to have in spring football, like no one's taking any of this for granted. And I think that's what I love about this league, the love of football, right? And all these guys, they want to obviously get to the highest level they can play, but just they want to be their best and doing that, paying attention, getting the notes and everything. And I'd imagine they'd have a stack of notes, however big, that coach just showed there. And it's incredible. That's why I'm such a fan of this league. I love all the players, the coaches, just everything that has it going for it. I mean, I want more UFL. So I love to see it. It's great. I hope they all have success and putting all the notes to good use.
So I saw KJ in the comment line. I figured when we got to this game, he'd have some enlightening stuff for us. And he kind of went quiet. So I don't know.
Well, there's reason. I get it. They're 1-3. There's reason to be excited in Houston. And I realize Memphis is 0-4, but there's reason to be excited about your team. Are you going to be a playoff team? No, but being that spoiler is not a bad thing either. And, going forward, I mean, I don't know. Michigan, Michigan's gotten Memphis out of the way twice, but they got to play Houston twice yet. They've gotten, they've had San Antonio, and then they got beat by Birmingham. I mean, they're gonna put it together. They're gonna put it together, and they're gonna beat somebody. And I would not want to have Houston twice yet. Because McClellan looks good. McClellan looks good. So
a lot of RPMs on that football he was throwing. A lot of throw power.
Yeah. I mean, he looked good with his legs and he looked good through the air. So, maybe CJ deserves a little more credit than we have given him or anybody has given him. Because
credits will do fine.
Houston's competitive. One play here or there, and Birmingham's really on the ropes. Houston's competitive. And that's about all we can ask for. So.
Oh, is he getting out a little note card? Oh boy.
Yeah, mute him. Not going to be a hater, Brett. CJ hasn't playing. Not going to be a hater.
So let's move on to the next game. And it can be labeled the Anthony McFarland finally game.
There you go, Eric.
14 touches rushing the ball, had a TD reception.
I think San Antonio could hear his echo through.
Did they watch the bottom line and finally say, "Hey,
Yeah,
we're not giving the ball to McFarland enough"?
I'm seeing a pattern. Yeah, once Eric was started to scream and give the ball to McFarland, I've been seeing more touches.
Oh
McFarland.
my goodness! All of us.
Someone's
Anyway.
watching the bottom line.
Courtesy of the UFL. Let's watch the highlights and we'll talk more about the big game between DC and San Antonio.
Easy opportunities like that.
So punting it away is Paxton Brooks at the 18-yard line. Sexton bouncing it to the outside. Matthew Sexton with room down the sideline. Sexton with one man in front, and Sexton gets by all the way for a Brahmas touchdown.
They're just playing with a different attitude, man. They're just physical up front.
Ta'amu going up top, wide open down the sideline, and walking in and tumbling in. Briley Moore.
Ready, go.
On 3rd and goal. Robbins steps through a tackle. Robbins into the end zone for the touchdown. His second of the day.
Ready, go.
Second down, Ta'amu on the keep. Ta'amu into the end zone for a DC touchdown.
X return. He starts in and then moves back out.
Mond over the middle, found his man. It's Ward into the end zone for a Brahmas touchdown.
Ready?
DC trying to remain unbeaten. Ta'amu, pressure up the middle, throws for the end zone. It's incomplete. Nobody saw it. San Antonio is going to come into DC and get their first win of the year.
11-11. A way to buy himself time to make a throw. Jordan Ta'amu not able to do it there. Pressure in his face. Just lost one up before his receiver is ready.
What a fun game that was, huh?
It was, but I kind of get into the habit while I'm watching these games as I get into the team chats just to hear what fans are saying during the show. And boy, the fans on the DC chat weren't particularly happy with Jordan Ta'amu's performance. What do you guys think about? I mean, when you can talk about his 50% completion rate and all that kind of stuff, but when push comes to shove, he makes the plays that are there to be made, doesn't he?
Jordan Ta'amu was 19 of 31, which is way beyond his completion percentage, for 299 and a touchdown. And he also had 74 yards with his legs and a touchdown. If I told you before the game, Jordan Ta'amu is going to account for 373 yards, what would you tell me DC did to San Antonio?
Oh, beat them by 2 touchdowns.
At least. How can you be a DC fan and go, this is Jordan Ta'amu's fault?
And but then when you look at that, my thoughts of the game were DC was very undisciplined. They got way too many penalties, and they weren't the 5-yard varieties. They were the 15-yard varieties. And courtesy of the UFL, this is what Coach Harris had to say in post-game presser.
Want to continue to give those guys our prayers, but from the game itself, the biggest thing is you can't overcome games like that with so many penalties. We got to clean that up, and we talk about it all the time as a staff and as a team. The things you can't, accept things in a loss. The things that you wouldn't accept in a loss, that you can't accept them in a win. And so there's things that we have to continue to clean up throughout the course of the season, to be back in that win column, because that many penalties, it's tough to beat anyone from that standpoint. So, like I said, the biggest thing is we clean that up, and our efforts was where they would need to be. I thought from a naked eye, guys played hard. They played hard. So I appreciate the guys from that standpoint. But we just got to clean up those small details, and we'll continue to get back on the winning track.
I look at it and my initial thought was not Jordan Ta'amu's issue at all. I thought it was definitely the penalties that were just killing him down the stretch in that game. And, we don't watch, we really do. I was going to say, as fans, we don't necessarily watch every minute of every DC game like the fans of DC do. So, maybe we're not quite as in touch, but with the league as small as 8 teams, I'd like to think that we pretty much can stay on top of all the teams. I'm having a hard time justifying. I know he's made your dud list, Eric. I'm sure he's probably going to make your stud list this week. I mean, how frustrating can a quarterback like Jordan be for a fan base that would have as many fans, maybe not necessarily being a fan of his?
Well, I have watched every minute of every game, every team. And DC to me is I feel like I know Birmingham is winning, even though it doesn't look pretty. Michigan really hasn't played anybody at 3-1. St. Louis has 2 wins against teams that are 1-7, and they got 2 losses against teams that are 6-2. But DC is the one where I'm like, how can you have a quarterback that has a 42% completion percentage, and yet they were 3-0? And then you turn around this week, and he flips the script, accounts for 373 total yards and 2 touchdowns, and they lose. To me, if I was a DC fan, that would be the most frustrating part. If I gave you those numbers before the game, be like, okay, this is an easy win against San Antonio, on to next week against Arlington. But I could only see it from the standpoint of, if I was a DC fan, and I'm not, but as I've watched every game, I say to myself, yes, the one game, I think he was 17 of 38 or, whatever. But he's been able to make the critical throws and the critical plays when he's needed to. They didn't even need him to do that this week, and they somehow found a way to lose. I think it goes more back. Their frustration is, as Coach Harris said, stupid penalties. I think DC was getting a little ahead of themselves. We're 3-0. We're the best team in the league. And I think some attitudes came out, and it burnt them in critical situations. So, I mean, I would trade for Ta'amu tomorrow. I know his completion percentage still is at 50% overall, but he's got a knack for making the plays, and he still can make some plays with his legs. So I don't know what DC fans on those chats are talking about. But I can't figure DC out. They're 3-1. I get it, and W's are W's. But based on the quarterback performance, I would think they were 1-3, not 3-1. Brett, what do you think? Am I missing it?
Go ahead, Brett.
I think they've had better offensive line play this season compared to last season. That was one of their big downfalls. Their defensive line's improved. I think they've got 2 out of the top 5 sack guys in the league. Good running game. And Ta'amu, he's very, like Ed said, it's the timing of his completions. And incompletions. No, he didn't get it done on the fourth down Sunday night in D.C., but I mean they were this close once again to being 4-0, and beating a very talented, gritty San Antonio team. D.C. is more of an old school. I hate to go back to like the 1992 Alabama team that we had, where I think we had one completion in the national championship game that season and beat Miami by 3 touchdowns. DC's just they're built a little different, and there again, keep in mind, guys, Scott, their leading receiver or one of their leading receivers, isn't he out for the season or?
Yeah,
he's also at St. Louis, so that was really their deep threat. He's a lot bigger target than I think it's Harmon, the kick return specialist. But yeah, DC's is built a little different. They're a little old school and they're tough in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So I think that's why they can kind of have a little bit more lackluster quarterback play and still have more success than a lot of the other teams in the league.
So Mike, you saw San Antonio at Michigan a week ago, and then you saw them play DC again this last weekend. What's your thoughts on San Antonio? Are they righting the ship? Are they a team to be reckoned with down the stretch?
I would say so. I mean, at this point too, I'm kind of like aligned with what Eric's mindset is. I'm glad as a Michigan supporter that we got San Antonio out of the way. I don't think, if you're playing them late, then you're kind of like, oh boy, this is a gritty team. And then obviously McFarland getting more touches as they've probably watched the bottom line and said, hey, they're right. I think that's something we got to do. So, but no. But this coaching, this young coach here, I mean, this is in the broadcast. So, those who watch the Fox broadcast, hey, Panther watch there. But such an incredible display of coaching between, 2 young coaches, and they were on the way Fox did it too. Fox knew what they had going on with the defensive play caller. They would hear the offensive and they would switch back and forth, just kind of get an idea of how the matchup, the coaching matchup there. And then too, when you see the celebration on the sideline there, and the players, hey, they rallied around the coach, and then the coach has the control. Now at this point, I'm like, okay, so what does Wade Phillips do? If he sees this, do I want to give this kid a chance here? Because I'm sure Wade's probably got I'm sure he's gotten a sense of being like a proud coaching dad, with all these, got the young coach, look at him go, do you want to step in or I'm Wade F. Phillips, this is I'm the Browns head coach. And then, obviously we'd all, would like to see Wade. We all wish him the best too. And health wise, but it's good to have him in the league, but what's Wade Phillips want to do here too? Does he let the thing, go on as is, or does he come back and, and ride along on this thing they have going on here? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward, but very enjoyable win for San Antonio. I think they're going to be more of a smash mouth team moving forward.
So here was head coach Pardee's comments at his presser on the matchup.
You see the brilliant defense that just made you confident with your team to run the ball?
I'll say this. I thought Blake Williams, their defensive coordinator, and, myself and our offensive staff, we were playing a mean game of chess the whole time. I thought he did really, really well, but, our identity was, and game plan going into this was, if they were going to remain too high, we had a lot of advantageous pictures box-wise to be able to run the football. And that was something that we identified that was a developing strength of ours and something that we needed to continue to lead and kind of lean into. And then at the end of the day, we knew it was going to be basically a 4-down, 2-high structure out the gate. And then once you were able to run the football on them, they moved to more 5-down and kind of rotate the picture. And so we were able to establish the run game early and then continue to lean on it. Obviously just taking a quick glance at the stat sheet, all 3 of those backs, Anthony McFarland, 14 for 64. Jay Sean Corbin, 11 for 27. Then our brand new running back, Aiden Robbins, only 4 for 13, but 2 touchdowns in the mix. So we were able to spread the ball around, and that was kind of what we saw in the run.
So, one of the big plays in that game was the punt return by Matthew Sexton. And, of course, head coach Pardee was the special teams coach before he was made the head coach. Here's what he had to say, courtesy of the UFL, on that play itself.
Everybody on our sideline, that is a once-in-a-million play. Because to give you the kind of backstory, we were in defensive stay. So we left our defense on the field because where the ball was field position-wise, we knew when we had the lead early in the game, DC would, possibly try to do some things with their special teams unit to try to steal a possession and possibly go for a fake. And so in that situation, myself and our special teams coordinator, Jesse Thompson, we left the defense out on the field, which generally means you're not going to get a great return because you have 4 down linemen that covering in space for 50 to 60 yards is not their forte. And so at least for me, I've never seen a punt return for a touchdown on defensive stay safe. So that was a first for me. But, I'm really, really proud of Matthew Sexton. He's done a lot of great things for us all year on offense and on special teams. And for those that were fans of, the XFL back in 23, he was a dynamic returner back then. And so Matthew Sexton, that was a phenomenal play by him. And additionally, Tavante Beckett had a critical block on that, as did Jalen Elliott. So that was a whole team effort play. But I'm really, really proud of Matthew and the whole defense on that. That was a special once-in-a-while play that happened there.
The audio on that presser wasn't that good in that. And so that question actually come from Avion Plummer from AFN. He was the one who asked the question there on the special teams play by Matthew Sexton. I just wanted to make sure that we included that. But that was a huge, huge play in that game.
Well, if you look at the numbers, if you just look at the numbers, it tells you how big that return of Sexton's was. DC controlled time of possession. DC ran 9 more plays than San Antonio. DC had 409 total yards to San Antonio's 219. They averaged 2.5 more yards per play, but yet they lose the game. Now, as a DC fan, I don't think I would look to Jordan Ta'amu as being the problem, but something was awry there because in almost every category, DC dominated, but yet they come out on the losing side. So, Mike, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, they were 3-0, and Coach said, a few weeks ago that, they would have a target on their back. They're going to get everybody's best shot. And that's just part of football, or part of pro football. Any given Sunday, and they were, and they played well, and then I would have it, in our group chat, it's like DC's just like, hold on a minute now, we're not some rollover team, and just because we're not playing at our best, especially to start out, they were like, hang on now, we're the DC defenders. But it's nowhere close for, I think, DC fans to be in any sort of panic mode.
No,
it's just get back up on the horse. It'll be just fine. You got a big game. Big game. Hey, this is a divisional round, or it was a divisional matchup, and then or conference. Now you have another one, and it's going. I'm going to say on the road, really, to Arlington. You're just kind of sit put. But I think that's, even the timing of being at Arlington, you got time to, you don't have to travel. You can kind of just, hey, let's just hunker down, refocus, get back to what we are, and let's just see how this goes. It's and Arlington's, they're going to give them their best shot too. but it's a good chance for DC. Now let's see how they respond. This is going to be a very important thing to watch. How a team responds after a loss, having such a high of 3-0. Look at us, starting out with Birmingham and knocking out a couple of other teams. Get a loss now. Now this is where you're going to see, I think, what you want to see as DC fans, football fans, is what the response will be after a loss.
What you're made of.
Yep.
And again, I don't want to toot our own horn, but I think we said McFarland needs to see the ball at least 15 times.
That's Mr.
And he ended up with 14 carries for 64 yards. He also had a TD reception, so that kind of sounds like 15 touches to me, right?
Give the man the ball.
What I think happened was I think the coach is sleeping and they just hear the echo on the bottom line. They say,
"Give the man the ball." Not against St. Louis, but everybody else give him the ball.
So, if you remember, I told everyone that with the schedule that San Antonio had early on, it was going to be important for them to start the season at least 3-3. And if they could start the season 3-3 with all their home games they have coming up the second half of the season, that it could bode well for them, and they have a chance with a win over Houston this week to get to that 3-3 that I was talking about. So let's take a break and hear from our sponsor, Wild Sun. And when we come back, we will get into Eric's studs
and duds.
We'll be right back.
This is more than a game. It's passion that fuels us. The action.
My goodness.
The excitement. The pride.
To the end zone. Touchdown.
Where stars emerge.
He got smoked.
Where legacies begin.
You're feeling awfully confident right now.
Where the future of football is taken to new heights.
Touchdown. Bam. He got whacked.
Get ready.
Just bad intentions. Wow.
For more football this spring.
Playing with some swagger.
A new UFL season kicks off on March 28th.
Hey, beautiful Sunday morning. He was pumping up his beer snake friends back in the door. All UFL for a reason. So many personalities on the field and in the stands in this league.
We love the moments, the memories, the magic, the game. So let's get more. More action. More celebration. More unforgettable. More football. More of what you love.
We are back and we are ready for Eric Studs and Duds. And, you know, Eric, you're going to have to find that hat because I only think it's fitting that you wear the hat while you're doing your Studs and Duds too.
I don't know if I have it here or not. Give me 1 second.
Do you think he realized I was just kidding?
Oh, he's got it.
Oh my God, he's got it.
I got the dress up one here.
God.
This is the black hat. It's the dress up one here. I got to hold on my mic here, but.
And you'll fit in at a Birmingham game real good with that thing on.
Oh, dude, I pull this off like nothing. I mean, you'd think I rode horses and had cattle, man. I mean, I can pull it off. I don't know what the deal is.
You're riding something. Go ahead.
All right. Studs and duds for week 4. I'm going to start on the defensive side. And my first stud on the defensive side is linebacker Steel Chambers from Memphis. 11 tackles, 7 solo. He had a nice game there against Michigan. Looks like all linebackers this week. Frank Ginda, 13 tackles, 7 solo, half a sack, 1 tackle for loss. Got to give a shout out to my man Willie Harvey, Iowa State. He had 8 tackles, 3 solo, 1 interception, and a return for touchdown. Linebacker Tavante Beckett from San Antonio. 13
what a
tackles,
hit.
8 solo. What a phenomenal game.
Oh, my God. What a hit he had.
Oh, man. I mean, that dude was something.
Everyone at Audi feels like, ooh.
Yeah, everybody went, ooh.
Yeah.
And then Donald Payne from Arlington, 10 tackles, 6 solo. And then quarterbacks. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Bryce Perkins had himself a day, 15 of 22, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 127 QBR. And then I'm going to give some love to Matt Corral for you, Brett. 247 total yards. Of that was 52 rushing and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Ta'amu went from the duds list to the studs list, even in a loss. He was 19 to 31 for 299, a touchdown, but he also added 74 yards on the ground and a touchdown as well. And then, the San Antonio Brahmas as a team got their first win over DC, played really well. And then the duds. I kind of shortened my duds list up this week because I do have a certain criteria that you have to meet to be on the duds list. And there were some borderline ones. But the 2 that really stuck out to me was the first one was Memphis's offense. In particularly, Perry and Williams.
Yeah.
They combined for 12 of 24 for 87 yards and an interception, and for a combined QBR in the 40s. That's not going to get it done.
Nope.
And then St. Louis offense, quarterbacks as well, between Wilkins and Duggan. Most of this was on Duggan. 8 of 19 for 78 yards and 2 interceptions for a QBR in the 30s. That's not going to get it done either. So, if we had the bump, bump, ba boom, boom, that's exactly what it is. So that is the studs and duds list. Very ugly, Brett. Real ugly. I
have an honorable mention.
I have an honorable stud mention, by the way, and that is Matthew Sexton with the run back in the San Antonio game. He's an honorable stud mention.
I have an honorable stud mention. I want to give a shout out to Daryl Moose Johnson for his addition to the Beer Snake at DC. He put one down and put one into the Beer Snake, and all the DC fans rallied around it, and they loved it. So good to see Moose out there having a good time, and always a great guy to talk to. So very blessing to have for the league.
That's the studs and duds list for week 4. Can I take this off now, Brett, or are you enjoying this cowboy hat, bud? You enjoying
Buck
this?
'em, baby, buck 'em.
I mean, George Strait and myself, we can pull it off. This just happens to be a George Strait felt hat. I'm just saying, but
should get the Richard Petty hat.
I don't deal with feathers, man. Feathers aren't my thing. So
I'm going to part the Red Sea, and I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it over to Brett. So that he can cover the Week 4 TV ratings.
Oh,
here they are, right here.
Oh man! Well, we started off, needless to say, not great in week 1 and 2, but if you notice a very steady climb on these ratings. And again, on Fox and ABC, the ratings, the viewership includes streaming. On ESPN, it does not. 3 of our games this weekend are on ESPN, so we will have to kind of go from there. Don't know what we're going to be looking at. ESPN's always a little bit lower for obvious reasons. Not to mention they do not include their streaming numbers for some reason. But this is a very good sign. The Saturday night game for the second straight week, and I'll give props to St. Louis that played in both of those games. I believe, but no, one was a Saturday night game, one was a Saturday morning game. They both went over 1 million. So we've got back-to-back games or weeks where we've had a game go over 1 million viewers, which is fantastic. Everything's trending in a really good direction with that. The league released their corporate sponsors today, which we've seen a lot of those come about throughout the season. Some really big names on there from Progressive Insurance, FedEx, Ortho, Under Armour, New Era Cap. You can go on and on and on. It really shows stability with the league, and the future looks bright. Yes, we do need to get more butts in the seats, but hey, I'm excited. The first week, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little shocked and disappointed, but we're right where we need to be now. It's only we're only going to go up from here. I don't know what we're going to be looking at with these ESPN ratings, but again, got to remind folks when those get released next Tuesday that does not include the streaming numbers. But that's pretty much it for the viewership from week 4.
One comment too. So one comment here. A couple things. So with Michigan's, they were competing head to head with the Detroit Tigers, who are also at home on a night game, and they're rated. I think they had like 9,800 people. So the lowest total attendance for a Michigan Panther game for this season would have been the highest last season. So it's good to see higher highs and higher lows as far as if you want to track put it on a chart or anything like that. So anything that's a positive uptick, it's good. It's good to see.
Well, I look at it like this. And I've said this from the start of the season. I don't care about attendance. I can't change that. I don't care about TV ratings. I can't change that. I'm going to enjoy the season. And Lord willing, we have a season 3, 4, 5, and onward. But I'm not going to sit here and ruin the season by worrying about these numbers here and not enjoying the football for what it is. If you look at these trends, we're almost 200,000 more average from week 1 to week 4. So, as Brett said, it's trending up. We dealt with a lot of things in week 1 and week 2. There was all different things going on. So I'm good with it. Between March Madness and those types of things, not going to sit here and be a naysayer, and I don't think any of us are. Ed, I don't think you are. I don't think Mike is. I don't think Brett is. It is what it is. Get out there, enjoy the games, watch the games. I know we all do. I watch every game every week. And just enjoy the UFL for what it is.
So before we get into Brett's power rankings for week 5, I wanted to just briefly, courtesy of the UFL, they come out with season leaders so far in the different categories. So I was just going to show them briefly. So for passing, right now, Jordan Ta'amu is leading in passing yards, and it's not even really close.
No.
So the only thing I would say that I would comment to, I know it's not all DC fans because I know a lot of the DC fans, and I'm sure they appreciate good football. They always have. I know when I was at the DC game a couple years ago, I had a lot of great conversations with DC fans. But for those who aren't necessarily Jordan fans, I would just say be careful what you wish for. Because when you look at some of the quarterback play that's been out there so far this year, I would say you guys are sitting pretty damn good at quarterback. So we got Jordan leading the way, followed by Luis and Bryce. That doesn't surprise me. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Kellen Mond. It looks like he is starting to get a little bit more comfortable finally as quarterback with San Antonio. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to his numbers. So let's go to the rushing yards. Jacob Saylor's got a narrow lead. I would say the bulk of those come in weeks 1 and 2. He hasn't had too much success here the last couple weeks. I look at Anthony McFarland. To me, he would be a runaway leader in this league if he was utilized properly, especially in the first 3 weeks of the season. I don't think it'd be close.
Wouldn't even be close.
Wouldn't even be close. So
Nate McCrary's doing well too. It's good to see Nate getting a lot of yards.
Yeah.
Saginaw Valley State.
Let's go ahead and go with receiving yards. Jonathan Adams, 284 yards. Of course, Ty Scott's, out for most of the season. I'd hate to think with a broken arm he's going to be back for much of the season. But if they qualify for the playoffs, if he can get back by the end of the season and contribute, then that could be a plus for them. But when you look at the fact, Jacob Saylors brings up the rear at number 5. When you look at the receiving yards, especially through 4 weeks of a season, just goes to show you how much the offenses have struggled so far in the UFL.
Right.
Because to me, the yardage numbers just don't pop out to me as being that impressive.
I mean, didn't Hakeem Butler lead the league last year with almost 700 yards?
Yeah, and
you look at think in 6 games, these guys are going to have to average 70 yards to get to that mark.
Well, Adams really hasn't had a consistent quarterback. I remember him with the Breakers in the USFL. If he had a quarterback, that it would be a different story right now. But I mean, that's the case with a lot of these receivers.
Right.
Quarterback play has been sketchy.
As Mike, as Coach Nolan talks about the importance that Michigan to be a real serious contender down the stretch, that they have to make defenses that they're playing more honest and stretch the field. What do you see as with Michigan? Who do you see on their wide receiving core that could punch their way into this top 5 list?
Well, I mean, that's the thing too. One of the things that Bryce does well, and what was I think brought up in a press conference, what he likes to do, he likes to spread the ball around. Everyone's going to get equal touches, and he knows the type of players that that he has. But I would like to see maybe the tight ends get involved more. With the coaching seminars. It was basically tonight. I had the privilege to basically have a one-on-one with Marcel Belfay tonight. And we talked about the RPO, and we got a tight end, Gunnar Oaks, who is just an absolute monster from what the O-line coach says. From one of our assistant coaches at Saginaw. He came from Eastern Michigan, so he knows him very well. So Gunnar Oaks, I would like to see if they unleash him, and if they go in with the personnel groupings, the tight ends in there, because we've seen tight ends have success too. Quarterback's best friend, right? But I don't think there's going to be one roster one wide receiver that really takes it. And then it's just be spread it out. Everyone gets peppered a little bit, reception here and there. But I would say Gunnar Oaks. I think that'd be one to see how he does in the receiving end of things.
So, Brett, as Birmingham continues to make strides on their offense, who do you see in the passing game for Birmingham that could maybe make their way onto this list eventually?
Deion Kane, what you called a long touchdown in Houston this weekend. I don't know with quarterback play. I mean, Alex got hurt in week 1. Now Corral's out. Got hurt late in the Houston game. Don't know. Well, Cookus, he had, like he said in the post-game press conference, he had 2 throws. The first one was really good, and the second one was really bad, and he was lucky it wasn't picked. But Deion Kane is definitely Birmingham's deep threat.
So let's go to the other side of the ball, and let's go to the sack leader so far through week 4. There we got a Birmingham Stallion at the top of the list. Kind of XFL heavy on the defensive side of the ball.
Don't forget Braylon Speaks is hurt now. He'd be on this list if he wasn't hurt.
He won't definitely.
We won't forget Michigan, guys. We won't forget Michigan, guys.
Well, hey, it's the same old story, boy. If something's heavy on the XFL side, it's damn sure going to get mentioned. I mean, I wish we would. I'll be glad when they expand next year and go to the West or East Conference or something, which is what I hear they're going to do to try to stop all the silly division that's still going on. But thankfully, it's not nearly as bad as last year.
Oh my God, it's almost like non-existent anymore. I mean, I'm probably one of the. I don't even think it's. It's just it's just the league now, and USFL 1. I think that's just how it. That's just we can put it to bed after that 1 year.
As Brett talks about, it's tribal, right?
Yeah, tribal, very tribal.
So let's move on while we got the parting of the Red Sea. Let's go ahead and put Brett's Week 5 power rankings up, and we will let Brett comment on that.
This is probably the toughest one I've had since the merger, really. And of course, the preseason power rankings. I mean, you just those are irrelevant. That's just something to talk on. You could absolutely, in my opinion, have DC, Arlington, or Birmingham at number 1. The reason why I gave Birmingham the edge was heads up with Arlington, and Birmingham's loss was week 1. Do I think Birmingham is honestly? I would have them, and I thought about doing this 1A, 1B, and 1C with those top 3. So you can move them around, shake them up, whatever. I mean, that's where we're at. On the bottom, like I said, Memphis does seem to be a better team than last season. It's not showing on their win-loss record. Houston, again, has improved. Again, a lot of parity. Now, San Antonio, I definitely had them above Houston. I think they've got a higher ceiling. St. Louis at 5, Michigan at 4. I know.
Like, what Memphis hit?
It really depends on how Michigan comes out in St. Louis. If they take care of business, I'm going to definitely have to move them up. I can't put them above Birmingham yet because up to this point, Birmingham has dominated that rivalry since we restarted. Although, like I said, it was a very, very close game. Could have went either way in the first matchup. So, again, people are going to say, well, it's because you're a homer. Look, the Arlington call, whether you call it BS or what, it was legit. I mean, I saw the game live, at the stadium, and it was so obvious to me it was a false start, and Arlington just couldn't get Birmingham off the field. Then again, I would probably have DC maybe even ahead of Arlington up to this point to where you could say, look, DC beat Birmingham heads up. They should be number one. So, again, no perfect formula with the top three, but I think it's a pretty good list, and it's, again, a really good sign that there's a lot of talent in this league, a lot of parity, and we're going to have a fun finish to this season too.
Yeah, we're not even halfway yet. So we're still enjoying the first part of it. So playoff chase will be on shortly.
No doubt.
So with that, it's time to get into our Week 5 previews. So let's go ahead and let's comment where we stand on picks so far. Because, I got to give Mike his accolades. I just got the ticker going on the bottom. Mike won a perfect 4-0 for the week and currently leads at 12-4. But we're all within striking distance.
For now.
If Eric would have had his way, I would have had a perfect weekend, and I would be tied with Mike at 12-4.
You should have rolled with it.
No one to blame but myself for that one.
Yep. That's exactly right.
I was like, well, it's all a good thing I picked San Antonio because it's all, it takes care of the whole pick debacle between Eric and Brett. So
I think most of us had a strong feeling about San Antonio last weekend. I don't know why. It felt like you could see it coming, so to speak.
One of them like trap game kind of deals. You know what I mean?
Like I said, San Antonio's got a lot of talent. Again, Pardee, the new head coach for San Antonio, is the youngest professional coach in history at 28 years old or young.
And with Ed said too, like, when a team's 0-3, like enough's got to be enough. Like we need this. Like when a team needs a win, I didn't know
they needed a win.
Yeah, Memphis had a good start against Michigan, but as the game went on, it kind of just sputtered and fell apart. But from the jump, where San Antonio had that lead, we were just like, okay, 6-0, 12-0, and they were able to maintain and add on. So, a complete game by San Antonio and like a strong first start for Memphis. But there's positives for Memphis, but time is against them now. They're running out of weeks to make something happen.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and put the first game of the week up. Boy, it seems like Birmingham's playing, if it's not a Friday night game, it's a Saturday night game. They've been playing all night games, which,
Hey, listen to Brett.
Which goes to Coach Skip Holtz's logic that he's got a tired football team. All these night games and the travel is taking its toll. But game one, Friday night lights. Memphis 0-4 travels to Birmingham, who's 3-1. Birmingham's favored by 10.5 with the over/under at 37.5.
Yeah.
And I guess I should be asking our Las Vegas gambler, Mike, you putting any money on this game?
No, but, if I was to pick this, I'm Birmingham and the points. Memphis is just in a world of trouble, in a time where it's like, hey, we need to turn something around quick, but, maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. But as Dan Campbell would say, that light at the end of the tunnel, that's a freight train. And they're going right into the heart of Birmingham here. That's just man, if it was Houston, maybe it'd be a shootout kind of game, maybe to get a win. But shoot, going against Birmingham. But you did say Birmingham's a tired team. Well, they also may be a pretty ticked off team, just because, and just poor Memphis Showboats has to get fed to the Stallions, and it's a good rivalry with the fans. They have a long history of playing each other in spring football, but it's just, they're almost like a punching bag for the Stallions. So I expect a little more of the same. Give me Birmingham, and then I think they'll cover.
Well, I gotta believe, Brett, that Birmingham's going to put it together at some point, and when they do, it could get pretty ugly. This looks to me like this could be the week.
But how's the quarterback situation, Brett?
Yeah, I would take Memphis in the points this week. Birmingham, it's going to be Case Cookus. I really like Cookus. Me and Mike's very familiar with him from the USFL side when he was with the Stars. He did not have a very good season in Memphis last year, although he was running for his life without a doubt the worst offensive line in the league last year. I don't even think there's a question on that. I like Case. He charismatic, tall. He's but it's his first start. He's not mobile, which is typically what Skip likes to run. Birmingham has struggled to run the ball this season. I would take the under and Memphis with the points, but Birmingham by 6 in this game.
Well, I would go ahead, Eric.
I'm 100% with you, Brett. I'm going to take Birmingham, but if I was putting money down, I would take the under, and I would also take Memphis with the points.
Yeah.
And since we've decided we're not doing that, I'm going to have to take Birmingham.
We also got Marty taking Birmingham. We got Brunning and Stave taking Birmingham. I'm also going to take Birmingham. There just isn't any reason to do anything else, especially with Birmingham being at home. They're going to have a home crowd Friday night. I don't know, Brett, have you seen anything? Is there going to be a pretty good crowd for that game? Or
Actually, better ticket sales than the first game this year, first home game. But again, like the UFL rep told me in the press box for the first home game, and I'm sitting there watching rain showers right as the game's starting, and he looks at me and says, "Every freaking time." Well, now 40-50% chance of rain, but it should be out of there around kickoff, so Birmingham fans don't come up with any damn excuse to not show up and support a 3-time defending champion. Get out to Protective Stadium if you have not been there before. It's in a very good area. It's a neat little stadium. You need to check it out. I love going to that stadium. I wish we had more home games there. Maybe in the future when we expand, we'll have 6 or 7 home games there. Maybe at some point we will have a championship game there. So definitely come out. Weather's going to be in the high 60s. No excuses. Pack Protective.
I mean, just think of how great of an equalizer that rain can be. Maybe there's a turnover or two that we don't.
No, Mike, we don't need rain. We need attendance. We don't have the fortune of playing in a dome, but thank you.
Thank you.
So that's a clean sweep for Birmingham. Let's move on to the next game. The next game is Michigan, 3-1 at St. Louis, who's 2-2. St. Louis is desperate for a win, and I'm just going out on a limb here. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. definitely need a pick me up. That's for sure. Because
can't throw out the Sailors the entire game.
Well,
we tried. We tried.
You know, St. Louis isn't playing very good football right now, so you know it'd be one thing to make the comment that you know Michigan's really going to be up against it this week, and we'll find out if they're for real. It's kind of hard to say that when they're going up against a team that hasn't been playing very good football. So, you know, Michigan, 2 wins over Memphis, a win over San Antonio when San Antonio, you know, wasn't playing that good of football themselves. Yeah. So, you know, a loss at home against Birmingham when all the cards seem to be stacked Michigan's way. So I think Michigan's still got a little bit to prove here too.
Well, let's hold on now. We St. Louis beat up on a couple teams to start, and
I didn't say anything about St. Louis.
Homer Palco, just relax.
Hey, I was fixing to say, Mike, after this pick from Ed, I'm not going to let him call you Homer anymore.
I just call it as I see it. No Homer here. I have no reason
if you'd have been on an hour 1, you would have known we already went through that St. Louis's only 2 wins are against 1-7 teams.
Well, I was with Coach Belfay.
So just slow your roll, man. Slow your roll.
Let's get Dwayne. Hey, maybe Dwayne Johnson will tell about the SmackDown Hotel or Know Your Role and whatever you used to say back on SmackDown.
So there's your question, man. My daughter's asking you a question, Mike. Duggins or Perkins? Who's your daddy this week?
Well, he's not going to be. I think I'm older than both these guys, so clearly wouldn't be any father to me. But I'm going with. It's really been impressive watching Perkins really take the reins for this Panther team. You know, we saw the stats. He's up there with in the passing game. Just how they do things too. They utilize him. So I like Perkins. I really do. I think even from last year, there was a point, in the championship game against the Stallions. It's like, dang, if only he wasn't hurt. Nothing to take against from Danny Etling, but Perkins is the guy. No, Brett, no.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're picking Michigan.
Maybe you gotta wait. You gotta wait till it's the time to pick.
See, the difference between me and Mike is at my tailgate on Saturday, I will still be flying a Michigan flag, even though they're playing St. Louis.
See, Ed's a league man.
I am a league man. That's why.
Well, I'm not going to pick against, if I have no reason to pick against Michigan to be a league man, I'm definitely a league person. I love all the teams. But I have against this game, from what I've seen with both teams, I don't have no reason to pick against Michigan. They've scored the most points in the league so far. And I think they have a better balance than what St. Louis is able to do. You can't just throw screens and screens and screens the entire game to Sailors. So Michigan's obviously going to pick up on that. They have a good defensive line. Good linebacker. Frank the Tank's going to be all over the place. You gave him a studs on the studs list. He's going to make some tackles. And then you got Kai Nakua. They have a good secondary who can shut him down. No, Brett, not done yet. They could lock down. So, yes, give me Michigan. Give me Michigan to cover. Michigan this week.
So I got go ahead, Brett. Go ahead.
You got what? Ed just said screw it. I've usually got a little guest picker around here, but
yeah,
there she is. That's my answer. Panthers in a close, very exciting, fun game.
Saturday night too. It'll be good for the ratings. So
there you go, T. There you go. See, she showed up.
Okay, Eric, go ahead.
I am doing the reverse mojo.
No, you're not.
I am picking Michigan because I want St. Louis to win, and if it means I have to stay in the cellar, then I'll stay in the cellar. I'm hoping that Hakeem Butler makes an impact. I'm hoping that with a week of practice, Duggan has and it is Duggan, by the way. You guys keep saying Dugan.
Not me, Max Duggan.
But Duggan will have a week under his belt as far as being QB1. But with that said, I'm still taking Michigan.
And a must-win game for the Battle Hawks.
Yeah, it is a must-win game. Just like I said, San Antonio had to put up or shut up against DC. It's kind of that way with St. Louis. They just can't afford to lose this game. They lose this game and lose to both DC and at home, Michigan at home.
And I think must win for Michigan too. I mean, you got to keep pace with Birmingham.
It is not a must.
No, it's not.
USFL side for crying out loud.
Michigan can finish 5-5 for Christ's sake.
What about
the playoffs?
Yeah, but for a playoff game at Ford Field.
Oh man, now we're splitting hairs.
Well, what good does that do? You lost in week 1 to Birmingham at home.
More people will show up for the playoffs. Anything goes.
A must win for Michigan. 5-5 and Michigan's in the playoffs. Move along. Good Lord.
I want home field.
Good Lord.
So I am going to say that St. Louis is going to take care of business. It's Duggan. Is that what you said?
Duggan. Max Duggan. Not Dugan.
He's going to have a week under his belt to actually get to watch film. They can work with him in practice. I think you're going to see a little bit better performance this week. So I think before a raucous crowd that they're going to pull out the win this week.
Michigan's box office. They'll show up to see Michigan.
So next game.
Dugan or Duggan? He's digging St. Louis into a 2-3 hole.
Oh, boy. Okay, next game. We got DC coming off their loss at home against San Antonio, traveling to Arlington for a huge game. Arlington 3.5 point favorites. Over under is 39.5. Sunday at 11 o'clock. I don't know if I'm a big fan of this 11-2 on Sundays. I kind of like the Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night combo with an early game.
I like 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday.
Yeah, the Sunday 11-2, I don't know. It just doesn't quite do it for me. But
Sunday at 5 o'clock was nice.
I would take Arlington in the points, but I still would take the under here. Almost 40 points. That's a lot. That's asking a lot.
This is going to be a heck of a battle in the trenches. These two teams on both sides, the offensive line, defensive line, are big and physical.
Yeah.
This is going to be a old school slap you in the mouth type battle.
It's a slobber knocker is what it's going to
be.
be.
He sounds just like an XFL fan, doesn't he?
It's a slobber knocker. Give me Arlington in the points. I'll take the under. Arlington in the points. I'll take the under.
Where's James? Oh, go ahead, Ed.
I got to say the same. I'm gonna say that Arlington continues to roll, and they're gonna find a way as well. I got Arlington winning this one also.
We need Gabe on here right now to the king of spring, Luis Perez.
Perez,
whatever. Yeah.
Luis Perez.
Luis Perez. Yeah. The king of spring himself.
So go ahead, give me your picks, you two.
Quickly.
Arlington and like Eric said, a slobber knocker. I'm watching the game. I could just hear Madden in the background. Boom, boom. You know,
boom, boom. Watch him at the hole. Boom. Yeah.
Boom. 20-17, Arlington. I know that's a conventional score. Maybe it'll go. I don't know, but about a 3-point game.
Yeah, I mean, I hate, another clean sweep, but I really like what I'm seeing out of Arlington. This is and I brought it up. How does DC respond? And this is going to be a great game, and they will respond well, and I think it'll be a good contest. But something about Arlington, how they gave their passing game, I like watching them. It's good. We got Chuck Long, front of the program, hearing his play calls, and I'm in on Arlington. Give me Arlington, and I don't know if I take the points though. I think it's going to come down to the very end. Very close game. So, Renegades.
Gotta love that logo.
Great logo.
Final game of the week. Houston, 1-3. Travels to San Antonio. San Antonio finally gets their first home game. They are also 1-3, but a win by San Antonio could put a completely different look on their season. San Antonio is favored by 3.5 points. The over-under is 38.5. It's the anchor game Sunday at 2 o'clock. Brett, let's start with you on this one.
I think this could be a real diamond in the rough. What Houston showed me Saturday night, again, it was against a very inconsistent, undisciplined Birmingham. Landon looked good. And like you mentioned earlier in the show, Mond seems to be coming on. Looking like it's going to be a pretty decent crowd in San Antonio this weekend, which we should all be excited about. Their first home game. This could be another step in San Antonio turning their season completely around. I'm going to take San Antonio, but I'm going to take Houston with the points. San Antonio wins by 2.5, 2 or 3. Line is what, 3.5? Yeah. Yep. Los Vamos, whatever the hell they say in San Antonio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Orange Ford, how about that? Yeah.
I'll be right with you there. San Antonio home crowd. I think there's a lot of excitement for the Brahmas. I think the crowd will show out. Brahmas fans will be in their corner, and then whoever the quarterback is, they're going to need the crowd behind them to maybe get a couple false starts or two out of the Roughnecks. I'm still, Brett, diamond in the rough. I think this game will be one of the good ones for the weekend. I think they all be great games, but this one will be one that's like, holy crap, didn't expect this. But usually when it's two teams in this position, I think it'll be a close game. Very good game. So, Brahmas.
Eric?
My turn? I'm going to go Brahmas. I'm going to take the points, and I'm going to go under. I don't need to say anything. Time constraints. Brahmas, points, under.
And I'm a firm believer. I think San Antonio is going to get the win. I think they're going to get themselves back into the race here, and because there's a very good chance that, you're going to have at least one team that's going to fall to 3-2. And even though St. Louis, even if they were to get the win and go to 3-2, Brahmas can still get to 2-3. So you got 5 weeks of season left and only being one game behind, anything can happen. So
yeah,
I think San Antonio is going to get the win, and they're going to continue their push to get to 3-3 before the final drive starts. So give me San Antonio. So,
and with that,
let me part the Red Sea, and we will go ahead and put our picks up just in case there's anybody who.
I mean, we did have that discrepancy last week. So
I will say, Brett, it's a pretty board. You do a good job with that.
I'm learning, guys. I'm learning. I'm 45 years old. If I was 25, it would be nothing to it.
So if you look at that, I am the only one that went out on a limb and made any kind of prediction that was out of the norm, I guess. So I guess we're.
Whatever you want, or
I was kind of surprised. Eric jumped off the bandwagon pretty quick. So
it pissed me off. So that's why I did it.
So I should be able to retain this lead that I have.
Oh, there's no question about that.
Yeah, but there's a chance I can get within striking range, though, if cards fall right.
Not this week.
Not this week. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And let's just talk a little bit briefly about what's in store.
Well, two things, Ed. Even though it's the football show, I want to remind everybody that the Cubs swept the Dodgers tonight and the Cardinals lost.
For Christ's sake, who cares?
I mean, I want to throw that out there. Cubs beat the Dodgers. Just throwing it out there.
Who's
fans watching?
Baseball is on tonight?
Baseball.
Yeah, they don't hit each other in baseball.
Go Cubs, baby.
Hey, T, did you find it? Oh, no. She didn't even find that last F I gave about that. We couldn't find it anywhere.
So anyway, just to let all of our viewers know, tomorrow night for the second year in a row, the Bottom Line is doing a live first round coverage draft show of the first round. I mean, anybody can listen to ESPN and anybody can listen to the NFL Network and listen to them all with the earbuds in their ear, getting fed all the information from the techies, the book, that do nothing but read stats and all that kind of stuff. So it sounds like they're all intelligent and everything when they're talking, when everything's being fed through an earpiece. With us, you're going to get live, raw reaction that you would get in your man cave, in your bar.
And it's a lot of fun.
Am I right, guys? I mean,
it's a lot of fun. The draft show, I look forward to it every year.
Hey, we really, and again, I know I'm bragging on us. So I hope I'm not going to curse this for tomorrow night. But guys, we go back and watch our draft show from last year. Ain't that right, T? Yeah, good job. We tore it up last year. I mean, go back and look at some of our analysis and what we mentioned about Verse and about this guy and that guy. We were, man, look, Mel Kiper ain't got shit on us from our show from last year.
Way to set the bar up here, Brett. We're trying to keep it down a little bit.
Right. So
temper expectation.
I'm going to be coming in hot for the show.
We hit it out of the park.
Yeah, I got, unfortunately, I guess I've got work commitments that I guess are important that I got to take care of before I can join the show. But we're going to have the ticker. We're going to have we're going to start a half hour early. The draft starts at 7:00. We are starting at 6:30. We are going to set the stage for the first half hour and let you know what to watch, what to look out for. And the big conversation of the day is going to be, when is Shedeur going to go? Is he going number 3? Is he going later in the first round, or is he going in the second round?
That's going to go right in line with something I'm creating tonight called Brett's Bust.
Oh.
It will be a guarantee of someone that is getting drafted that will be an absolute bust. You heard it here first.
Oh, I know. Well, and I won't burst your bubble, but I know exactly who you're going to talk about. But I'm not.
Silence.
So y'all got to tune in tomorrow.
And with the 7th pick of the NFL draft, the New York Jets select tight end. Oh, no!
Oh, there's some fan bases, man. You go back and look at some of them drafts, and we're Bears. 2 of us are Bears fans. Ed's Viking and Mike's Lions. So hell, we've all been through the pain and agony.
We got the NFC North covered tomorrow night.
Yeah,
but we've
minus the cheese team.
We got Chad. We got Chad joining us and back again tomorrow night.
Making the comeback.
He's the big college NFL guy that was on our team that he's been itching to get back in the saddle. So,
you think he remembers how to turn the computer on?
I don't know, but I'm sure he remembers how to tell Eric to F off. So
yeah. He's good at that. Can't wait.
There you go, team. Make another appearance. There you go. So I'm telling you, we're big Panthers fans around here, Mike.
I see.
I don't know. He looks like the Panther fan looks like he needs to eat a little bit.
But that's the runny one of the bunch. There's some around here that you can tell they're well fed. They eat before I do, believe it or not.
So join us. Bottom Line show at 6:30 tomorrow night for the first round full coverage of the NFL draft. We will be here for all 32 picks of the first round. And
it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. So,
how about them Cowboys?
With that said, we sure appreciate any likes and follows. Go to our page and
Facebook,
YouTube,
because we're going to YouTube eventually. We're going to YouTube,
Facebook, X,
YouTube.
Give us a like and a follow, and enjoy. We're going to be enjoying football tomorrow night with the draft. We're going to be enjoying the draft on Friday night, but more importantly, we have Friday Night Lights going on. So it's going to be another exciting weekend of football. Can never get enough football.
No, for all the football junkies, rejoice for this coming weekend.
But we will see you again tomorrow night, 6:30 Central Time. Until then, see you tomorrow night, everybody.
And that's the